Hey, what's up, guys? It's Michael Lieutenant from AbsolutelyArbitrary, and what you're watching right now is a little bit of Rush on the Canals. You know, I wanted to show this game because sometimes you just can't win. No matter how hard you try, no matter how awesome you do in one round, it could all be taken away from you because it's a larger scaled game and you just don't have the teammates. Trust me, I tried really hard, and of course this game is from a long time ago. If you guys notice my rank, the M416 that I use, I don't currently use those weapons. I use the L85A2, working my way up to the Scar Light for the Assault class because I don't play the Engineer, so I don't use the Scar Heavy, of course, and I wouldn't use it anyways because that gun's not really that great. But I digress. What I want to talk to you guys about today is kind of like a dream slash nightmare. I mean, I would classify it as a nightmare, although looking back on it, I've told a couple of my friends, they found it interesting, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. I don't know if I'd classify it as a nightmare because I wasn't really afraid of it. In fact, I woke up from one of them. It was a two-part nightmare, I guess you could call it. I woke up from the first one and I felt really excited, exhilarated, like I had just experienced it, you know, in first hand. And then I went back to bed and re-experienced a second part of the nightmare. It was entirely different, but there were some similarities to it, and I'll mention that later on. So I don't know if you'd call it a nightmare because I wasn't really like afraid of it as if you would be after like a horror film or something like that, you know, one that was successful. Although I don't know if you'd consider it just a dream because it had aspects that were, you know, supposed to be terrifying. So I don't know, you guys can classify it as whatever you want, but I'm gonna classify it as a nightmare just because of the fact that like you wake up shocked and surprised that you're awake, and you know you're happy that you're alive and instead of in some dream world like Inception. Alright, so here we go. Took a quick swig of water and I am good to go. See, the nightmare first started off while I was on the street, I think, and it was like kind of a pathway in the middle of the street. I was with my friends and we were going to go play some basketball with the boys. So we started to head off and I remembered that I didn't have shoes on. So I turned around and went to go put my shoes back on. And they were these red Nikes. They had, you know, ankle support, even though I don't wear red Nikes or anything. I don't even own a pair of Nikes. And so I was tying up the shoes, and one of my other friends had gone and caught up with the other guys, and I was going to do that, except I got one shoe on, I looked for the second shoe, and I realized that it wasn't with me. So then some random stranger on the side of the road was like, "Your shoe, man, it's over there," and he pointed, and it was in the middle of the street underneath this tree branch. It was a giant intersection. I'm not really sure why the shoe was underneath the tree branch, but I was like, alright, well I gotta get the shoe anyways, because I gotta go play some b-ball. So I wait for the right timing, you know, the lights and everything, and I dodge myself across the street, you know, a quick dash, and I hide underneath the tree for a moment, grab the shoe, and this truck comes out of nowhere. This giant truck comes out of nowhere down the street. All you can see is the big lights on the front, and he trashes the tree. And now I get out of the way off to the side because I'm not an idiot. I'm not just going to stand there and let a truck smash me and maul me in the face like a bear. So I grabbed the shoe, I head back across the road in time for the intersection. I don't know, maybe it waited for me. I got the shoe on and I started to go head towards my friends, except now where I would be normally going with my friends was now a different location in the city. On my right hand side there was a building where there were like gladiatorial people, like it was in like you were supposed to go get trained and go into the arena and have gladiatorial fights. Now this probably happened in my dream because I probably just finished watching Gladiator, which is an amazing movie, one of my favorites. And that was on the right hand side, but I didn't want to become part of that, you know, I don't want to be associated with that gladiatorial thing, you know. It was like almost like a bunch of punks, like crime and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like an honorable thing to become part of that gladiatorial thing. So instead of going right, I ended up going down the street, taking a left. Now I don't know where this corner came from, but I took a left and I started walking down the street. And it ended up being that like these gladiatorial guys actually started a riot throughout the city. So, and in front of me that I've taken a left, there's this giant group of people who are, you know, in a riot and just beating each other up. And so I actually go towards them, although I head off to across the street and I take a right down an alleyway. Now before I go in the alleyway, there's one of the gladiatorial guys, so I guess he's like a friendly on my side kind of guy, because he hands me a bit of rope, right? And he throws it to me and he doesn't say anything, so I turn around and keep going down the alleyway. Now I go through the alleyway and I cross the next street, and where the sidewalk would end on the opposing side of the sidewalk, or rather the opposing side of the street, I go and I jump because it is like an edge. It doesn't exist, right? And I guess the rope attached to something because I started to like swing down. Ooh, got a little burp there. And you know how you would swing down from something if you jumped off the edge of it, like a bridge? Let's say you jumped off a bridge with a bungee cord, how you'd kind of swing underneath the bridge. Well, that same kind of event happened to me where I would swing towards underneath it, except now where it was a sidewalk and an edge was now the top of a parking garage. And so I swing off it, and as I'm swinging down, I'm going in the lower level. And I land perfectly fine. The rope, I don't know what happened to the rope, but it wasn't a bother to me. And I'm looking down a parking garage. Now, what I can see in the parking garage, men are entering through a door on the far end of the parking garage. Now, I don't want anything to do with this, and they look like they're aggressive. So I turn in the other direction where I would imagine would be an open area because that's what there was before. But now I'm in the middle of a parking garage, and it's just an extended version of the parking garage. So as I turned around and there was more parking garage, so I continued to walk through the parking garage in the opposite direction from where these men were charging at me. And as I'm walking along, on the right-hand side, I know this is the whole pattern with the right-hand side thing, I don't really know what's going on here, but there's like a ramp where you would walk up to, I don't know, get to inside the building or whatever was over there. But instead of, I'm not taking the ramp, but I'm just giving you guys a location. There was a ramp, and it was flat at the top, and it was probably about the size of an average human being, right? So when it was a decent height ramp, and at the top of it was this creature, and there was some guy riding the creature, probably one of the gladiatorial guys or one of the guys who were part of the group of people who were aggressive, I don't know. But my plan was to go along this wall and actually hide from this creature. I wasn't sure what it was doing, I wasn't sure what it wanted with me, so I was going along, creeping my way along the wall, kind of, crouched down as I would, ease up as the wall would get higher, so I would remain hidden from this creature. And as I reached max height from the wall, so I can actually stand up, so apparently the wall was created so it would be a perfect height for me. As I would stand up, the creature noticed me, and he swung down his tongue. It was a giant tongue, and it had like a really thick part at the tip of the tongue, and it swung down and over and actually like smashed the wall. It crushed everything. The bricks and stuff went everywhere. It was just concrete pieces everywhere. Now I had to jump out of the way so I could dodge this thing, and I got up on my feet and I started to I rushed in the direction I was continuing going so I could get past this thing. And as I make it past, I'm standing by a car, and I noticed that in front of me there is some giant toad/frog creature, right? And he opens his mouth, and water is spewing out everywhere. Now, this doesn't alarm me at first, except that the parking garage starts to fill up really rapidly, like just incredibly fast. And the water takes me away, like I trip or something, or the water is just too much for me, and I fall, and I end up getting spun in a whirlpool, and there's like this random hole in the middle of the parking garage, and I just kind of fall through the hole. And that's when I wake up. I'm like exhilarated, I'm pumped, I'm ready to go, I'm wondering what's next, right? And I'm just kind of like, whoa, that was kind of insane, right? Normally after a nightmare you would think you'd be like terrified or like, oh, I'm glad to be awake, but I was kind of like, excited. I could feel like I was like, I felt sweaty, but that was probably just because of the massive amount of heat that gathers in my room throughout the night because I don't have fan or AC or something like that, I don't know. So it gets a little hot in my room, and I think that's probably why I was sweating, but either way, whether I was sweating or running in my sleep, whatever, but it was just like really exciting and exhilarating now that I knew that I was awake and it wasn't real. So now that everything I had remembered that I just experienced wasn't actually happening, so I could realize that it was fun and not a crazy reality. And so I kind of just chill out, check my phone for notifications, nothing. Maybe I post something on Twitter, I'm not really sure. But I ended up going back to bed, and it was early morning. It was probably like 3 or 4. Actually, no, that's not right, because I probably go to bed at 3 or 4. So it was probably like 7 or 8, because I'm definitely sleeping by then. It's probably about 7 or 8 a.m. And I go back to bed, because, I'm not ready to be up yet, because I've probably only been sleeping for about 3 or 4 hours. Good thing after that REM cycle. And when I wake up in the dream, I'm in an office building, and I'm like, I guess I'm a criminal or a bad guy, or that's what I associate it with, because there's like an FBI agent chasing me. It's a female, by the way. That comes into play later on. And so I was like, alright, I gotta book it, because this lady's coming at me, so I'm dashing down the hallway in the opposite direction she is, and I take a turn, hide inside a room, and she flies by me, like one of those cliche, hilarious, comic relief things where the guy flies by the person because they don't realize they're hiding. So I start to head back in the direction that she had just been coming from, and she realizes that I was no longer in front of her, so she turns around and keeps following me. Now I do this again to a staircase. Now I'm going to turn. That was about where I originally had woken up and started to run from, was the staircase. And so we run to the staircase, and I run around a vending machine, and she goes down the staircase, but halfway down the flight of stairs, she realizes, I know what you're going to do, you're going to try and pull the same thing twice. So she turns around and realizes that I'm still standing there. Now I start to go in the direction that she was originally coming from in the beginning of the dream, which is the opposite direction that we were running in, which I know may seem a little confusing, but that has nothing to do with anything, I guess. But we continue running down the hallway, and I entered this office that has complete glass walls. Like, the walls that are facing the hallway are all tall glass panels, and there's a door made of glass. Like, the whole thing is just glass. And I go inside, and I find out that they're selling breast implants inside there. I don't know, it's some kind of advertisement office or something. And they have a TV, and there's like product displays. I mean, not displacement, but displays on a table. And it's just everywhere. And the FBI agent comes running in, and she's like so caught off guard but excited at the same time. So she's over there like feeling the breast implants like she's going to buy one or something like that. And some other guy comes rushing through the glass, shatters it everywhere, and like tackles her to the ground. Now I'm like, alright, I'm out. So I bounce and I run outside the door of the office, and I wake up. I'm out, got away, and I woke up. And that was kind of it. And those are my 2 dreams. Oh, I forgot to mention that when I looked outside the office, my red shoes were on the ground, and that's why I went outside the office, besides the fact that I was getting away from them. But, so the red shoes were in both dreams, and that's kind of my nightmare, and I don't really know what to make of it, but I thought it was kind of cool. It was a decent story, lasted the length of the video. In fact, I'm going over a little bit, so I'm apologize about that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I tried desperately to win. It's just not enough. You guys can see that I doubled the score of the person below me. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed my dream, my storytelling, and I hope you guys continue to watch. Thanks. Have a nice day.